Okay, well, I want to be super prompt in starting. So I am gonna go ahead and start today's live class. In case you don't already know me, I'm Megan Avery, and I am the creator of Hipstitch Academy. I also have a sewing studio in Hoboken, New Jersey. And I have a team of myself and 3 instructors who teach sewing classes to kids and to adults. In that studio, I've been doing it since about 2003, so pretty long time. And then before I was teaching, I had a bag business, and that's kind of how I morphed into being a sewing teacher. I not only I started teaching bag classes, and then it kind of turned into teaching sewing for all kinds of things. And I started Hipstitch Academy about 3 years ago. It's been kind of a slow going process, which is good because obviously my main business is my sewing studio, and it still is and probably always will be, because I do have a passion for teaching people how to make things with your hands. And I think, now more than ever, it's such an important thing to be teaching people how to do. I was talking to someone this morning about it, how kids, don't even have any fine motor skills anymore because they don't have to pick up a pen to write. They're just typing. So it's so important what we're doing, teaching kids how to cut, teaching kids how to, thread a needle, teaching kids how to sew their own clothes, like teaching them that clothes don't come from Target, they come from someone actually sewing. So so I started Hipstitch Academy about 3 years ago, and it was sort of a selfish act because I wanted to meet other people who taught sewing. I wanted to, meet people who did the things that I did. So that's kind of why I started. And then along the way, I've just realized that I love helping people make their sewing business and their sewing studio more successful. I've really just enjoyed that and see people kind of growing their business and getting better at it. So I continue to do Hipstitch for that reason. So that's kind of Hipstitch in a nutshell. I'm gonna probably be doing a little bit of back and forth. I've got a lot of notes here that if I don't reference, back and forth a little bit, I could just go off on a complete tangent. So bear with me. I am gonna look at that a little bit, but also try to keep it a little casual. So anyway, Hipstitch Academy is my little place on the internet for all people who, have a sewing business, want to teach other people how to sew, get better at it, get more profitable, but also, communicate and be in fellowship with other people who are doing the same thing. So I post free content over there every single week in my sewing teacher blog. There's new posts, new videos, all kinds of free content. And of course, it's the time that the cat wants to come in and join us for the webinar, because I'm sitting here talking to myself, so he has to be involved. Anyway, I got all kinds of free stuff over there, and my hope is that the free content helps you. So, anytime you all find something or use something and it helps you, let me know, because that keeps me on the direction of what you all need, okay? The other thing is we need curriculum for our classes, and I'm just gonna move you, bud. We always need new curriculum because we're always teaching new classes. And so all the curriculum that we use in our studio for sewing classes is also something that I share over on Hipstitch Academy. So if you're looking for a curriculum for classes that you teach, get on over there. We've got tons of it. And it's actually on sale right now. A lot of the kids' stuff's on sale until midnight. So get on over there. The other thing I do is I work with businesses one-on-one. in a private coaching capacity. So if there's something that you need specific help with, I can, we can set up kind of a one-on-one meeting in this sort of format where we're back and forth, and I can help you grow your business or start your business or whatever it is specifically that you need. Think of it like a private sewing lesson. I do private kind of business coaching. Consulting, I think I'd rather call it consulting. Okay. So why am I doing the live teachings like this? It's just something that I've decided I want to commit to. I'm a teacher at heart, and I love getting in there and helping people learn something new. And since you all are not in New Jersey and can't necessarily come to my studio, at least very frequently, I figured that this was a good way to kind of get a class in there and to teach live. So I am going to be doing this in 2020 once a week. It's a lot of work, but I'm really kind of excited about it. So once a week, it's going to be at 1 o'clock every time we meet. However, the day of the week is going to change because I don't want to have it on one day of the week in case somebody, every single Tuesday they're not available at 1 o'clock. They can catch, another one the next week when it's on Wednesday or Thursday. And then if you decide that you want to subscribe to this and continually take these classes weekly, and for whatever reason you have a doctor's appointment or something comes up and you can't make it to a live class, you're always going to have access to it after the class, a recording of it, and you can always send in questions ahead of time if there's specific things that you want to ask for that particular week. So, so this is Zoom, the platform that we're using, and hopefully people are having an okay time getting on to the platform. I'm semi-familiar with it as far as, like a call, but this is the first time I'm using it for a webinar. So, if you want to show up, I think there's a chat function. So if you want to say hello, go for it. If you just want to listen and, be sort of having it on the background or whatever you want, that's totally fine too. So whatever works for you. Okay. I think there's also a question function too. You can kind of raise your hand and ask a question. So check that out. Anyway, and then obviously if you're watching the recording, you can't do that, but you could always, I'm going to put it on YouTube, so you can always ask a question in the comments. So I'll be monitoring those. And if you have a burning question, just go ahead and do that in the comments, or I'm always available on email. So if you, have a crazy burning question as well, please feel free to email me. At this point, I do read all of the emails and I do answer all of the emails. Haven't grown to that level yet where, I have to have someone else helping me. So please send those email questions. Okay. So the reason I'm doing these classes free right now is because that's something that I recommend for all sewing classes, right? I say, okay, when you're starting out, that's one of the biggest things that I teach in my free downloads. That's always a piece of advice that I give people. And then in the Sewing Teacher Bootcamp, that's a big part of it as well. It's just get a class on the schedule, make it free. The people who love you and support you will come, and you will, get to have that experience doing it with less pressure. And so that's what I'm kind of doing today. It's going to be free today, obviously. It's going to be free until the end of the year. These are kind of my practice, but yet not practice, because there's going to be good stuff, because I'm going to obviously want you guys to subscribe after the new year. So I would say if you haven't already signed up for them, get on there right now, because I'm only going to allow a certain amount of people each week. So go sign up. Okay. all this stuff here I've already said. And, you know, I'm probably going to share these free, the free ones in my blog as well. So maybe you're watching that right now. Okay, we're jumping into today's topic without further ado. So we're talking about 2020 class scheduling. So I'm curious about anybody who has a functioning studio out there who has classes on their 2020 calendar right now, because I feel like that's something that should probably be on there at this point. It is, sorry, I was distracted by a question. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by someone's question or someone's comment actually. So let's see. If you, if you're teaching classes in 2020, January, February, March, you should have that stuff up there. So definitely today being here and watching and listening is great. So I did include a little planning tool. It's a PDF. It's a 12-page PDF that I have already emailed you. And it will hopefully, I need to stop looking over at the comments. Sorry, it gets me off my train of thought. So anyway, that 12-page PDF is exactly what I use when I'm planning out my calendar for the entire year. You don't need to go get that right now, but use it when you are planning out your calendar for your classes for the year 2020. So basically the schedule of your sewing classes when you own a sewing business or you have a sewing studio, your classes are everything, because that's how you make money. That's how you get people into the studio. It's sort of like your product. So today in our very first class, we're going to be talking about how to create a class schedule that is exciting, is convenient, but it's also one that's successful and profitable for you, right? You want to have some other elements, not just like, oh, everybody wants, this class. You've got to think about it in terms of how can these classes be profitable as well, okay? Put simply, this is the product that you sell, right? You don't sell t-shirts or widgets or water bottles. You sell classes. So without new classes on your schedule at all times, you're not selling anything and you're not making anything. So you've got to get those classes on the schedule ahead of time. And as I mentioned, it's December 4th. So at least, 2 or 3 months in the least, you should be putting things up on that calendar, because people need time to see it, to plan ahead, and then to sign up for it. I think, I know people who have summer camp, not to, freak anybody out, but they have summer camp, their schedule up on their website, because that's, 6 months out, 5 months out, depending on when you start your summer camp. But it gives parents a ton of time to figure out, what the dates are, planning their vacation. And, you've got a lot of competition now. There's tons of programs for kids. It feels like there's way more than there used to be. So you've got to beat your competition and get people committed to signing up for your stuff ahead of time. Okay. So the 3 main tenets of this lesson today that I want you to consider when you are sitting down and creating your schedule, and hopefully everyone will do that after they watch this, is number 1, you have to have inspiring classes on your schedule. And this means not only inspiring for your students, but inspiring for you who's teaching them, or for your instructors who are teaching them. Second, you want to schedule your classes in a way that are going to be profitable. And I just mentioned this, so we're going to talk more about it. And then third, you're going to want to make your class planning process as efficient as possible. This shouldn't be like an ongoing thing that it is an ongoing thing. I shouldn't say that. It shouldn't take up like all your time. You should say, okay, I need to schedule for the next 3 months. And then in 3 months, you do it again. And then you kind of get the time that you spend actually scheduling down to, not as much time. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on these 3 points. And that first one was making your class schedule creative and inspirational for you as the instructor, as well as obviously for the students who take it. Because if they're inspired by what you're offering, they're going to sign up and you are successful. So my first piece of advice is to teach what you know, what you like, or what you need, okay? And what I mean by this, it obviously makes sense to teach things that you're good at, what you like to make, and then if like something that you're not sure how to make, you can kind of head over to YouTube and learn how to do it, and so you've got the skills that you can then teach it in a class. So if you love to quilt, if you're a quilter, then maybe you should kind of focus on that, at least to start with your classes. I happen to love sewing clothes. My studio is definitely more clothing based than it would be like a quilting studio. But, it's just kind of your preference. But then also I will kind of mix it up. And if there's a project that I've been dying to make, I see it on Pinterest or I see people carrying it and I'm like, oh, I'm going to, kind of get into that. Like, for instance, I was getting back more into working out like about a year ago. And I had sewn activewear for, a little bit, but I wasn't very good at it. So I made it my mission to kind of get better at activewear. And we've had a ton more activewear, leggings and t-shirts and knit classes in our studio. But even on like a really smaller scale level, if you're like going on vacation and you need a beach bag for your vacation, and you're going to make it and you're going to research this really cool beach bag, and spring break is coming up, like, why not turn that into a class? You want to take your own inspiration and give it to other people in a class, because that rubs off, it's like if you're excited about making it, your students are going to be excited about making it too, right? Okay. And I was just going to say too, like, yes, you're a sewing teacher, you're a sewing studio, but if you're like, you know what, I just want to make I want to make a macrame owl for whatever reason, it's brought up some nostalgia for me, like, get over on YouTube and like figure out how to make a macrame owl and teach that in a class if you feel like it. Sometimes it's good to switch it up, especially if you're looking for new class ideas. So don't be afraid to do that, like crochet or knitting. That can be fun to kind of switch up, even though you're a sewing studio. So, celebrate the fact that this is our job. This is what we get to do. We love to make things. We love to sew. So really get creative with that and celebrate it as your, job, that you get to teach these cool things and people are going to be excited about it and pay you to do it, right? So, and one of the other things that we do at Hipstitch Academy, I just wanted to throw this in here because I've learned a lot from interviewing sewing bosses, right? I learned from interviewing these people, in case you're not familiar with a sewing boss, interviews, it's basically one-on-one talks with people who've been doing this for a while, that I stalk on Instagram, and then I ask them to do an interview, and if they agree, we meet up on Zoom and we talk about their business. And I see a lot of similarities between the sewing bosses, and one of the things is that they figure it out. and it's not just figuring out how to create a website when you need a website, or figuring out how to do QuickBooks when you need to get your finances to the accountant. We all have to figure those things out because we're entrepreneurs, but it's also figuring out how to, make something, how to do something. And they, like if they want to have an embroidery class, and they're not great at embroidery, it's like you're heading over to YouTube to watch a ton of embroidery videos. So then you could teach it in a class, right? I think being able to figure out anything on your own is such a skill that anyone who has their own business has. And I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you probably have that skill too. So embrace that. Like, figure out the thing that you want to teach, learn how to do it, sign up for a class and do it. I've taken classes where, especially like pattern drafting classes. I wanted to get better at that for a while, and it was hard to learn on YouTube. So I've taken some classes for that. And then I offered the class, and I've read books about it. I know that, I have the ability to figure things out, and that's why I'm an entrepreneur, and that's why you're an entrepreneur. But that being said, don't think that that's everybody. Okay. You exist as a sewing studio, and I exist as a sewing studio, because not everybody learns like that. People still want to be able to come in and learn from you how to do something in a class. They want a little bit of hand holding. They want a live person to ask questions. Because I have plenty, at first it was like when the video classes were starting, like Craftsy was getting really big a few years back. And I got a little worried, I guess, because I was like, oh man, no one's going to come to sewing classes anymore because they're just going to all learn online. And that's where my brain went, because I knew that I could do that. And I don't necessarily, anyway, I'm not my customer. And I think there are plenty of people out there that maybe they'll start watching some videos online, or maybe they won't even watch any, and they're just, like wanting a live community of people to go to a class and learn how to do something. So just because we know how to figure it out as entrepreneurs, it doesn't mean everyone's going to do that. So there's a big need for sewing studios, right? All right. Quick side note on the Sewing Boss interviews. If you have not seen those yet, they're all free to watch. I want you to go over to the Hipstitch Academy website. It's hipstitch.co/interviews. Very easy. And there are, I don't know, 15 or 20 of them right now. I have one sitting in my on my computer that I just have to do a little editing to. So I'll be adding that soon. But anyway, there's tons of them. Super cool advice from people who've been doing this a long time, teaching people how to sew for a long time. So check those out. All right. I wanted to tell you about just kind of going back to teaching yourself how to do that. I am teaching a 4-week sewing class at my studio right now. I called it Hem, Alter, and Upcycle Lab. It's a 4-week class. And one of the things that I really wanted to include in this class was sashiko mending. And it's something that I've seen, and it's kind of popular, and I've seen it on Instagram a lot. And so I went on to YouTube, and I downloaded some videos and kind of watched how to do it. And I didn't need to, become an expert at sashiko mending, but I learned enough to teach it in my class last week as a way to mend jeans, as a way to, cover up holes in your jeans and get more wear out of them. This has been a really super fun class to teach because it's something I feel passionately about, fixing things rather than just, going out and getting new clothes. So perfect example of, I wanted to teach it. It wasn't the main thing in my class, but it was a good 15-minute chunk of teaching my students how to do this technique. And I thought it was super fun, and I did it to my own jeans, and I'm actually wearing them right now. I'm not going to get up and show you, but maybe I'll take a picture. I don't think I've posted them on Instagram yet. Okay, so that being said, also check what's trending and what is popular out there when you're coming up with new classes. Like, see what's on Pinterest, see what everybody's posting about on Instagram. That's probably going to be a good indication of what classes you might want to offer. And speaking of Pinterest, if you are, always coming up with new classes and ideas for what you're going to teach, start a Pinterest board, because that is the best place. It's like a bulletin board for all the things that you might want to learn. So if you want to have like a Christmas stocking workshop, you can pin all the Christmas stocking patterns that you might get some inspiration from, or, like I said, the sashiko or anything, and it's kind of all categorized. If you go onto my Pinterest, which I think is Megan Avery Creates, I'm not certain of that, to be honest, but I can put it in the notes later. But anyway, I have all these different boards for different categories of sewing. So that's when, if I want to make new kids curriculum, I can kind of go to my kids, stuffed animal board or whatever it is. And I get a lot of inspiration. I don't copy things. I feel strongly about not copying things directly from, existing projects, but it helps with inspiration. So that's my little Pinterest plug. Okay. Moving on to the next section of what needs to be in the back of your head when you're making your schedule is being profitable. And, and this is definitely something that I feel pretty strongly about when having a sewing business. I've run into quite a, not quite a few, but a few people as I've been doing this that kind of have this attitude of like, oh, we're never going to get rich doing this. We're just teaching sewing or whatever. And I'm not saying that anyone's going to get rich doing this. However, I started this business because I needed, it needed to be my job. It needed to bring in an income. I needed to support myself doing this. And yes, I wasn't able to do that right away. I had side jobs and I didn't, do it full time right in the beginning. Which I encourage other people to do, like go into this slowly and, don't put yourself financially at risk. But I do feel strongly about, making your business profitable. So anyway, that's why I feel like this section of, this little training is important. You want your class schedule to be profitable. And so there's a couple things that I mean by this. First, is when you are scheduling your classes, a lot of people do a lot of one-off, 2-hour classes, promote it, market it, get smarter. What am I trying to say? Scream it from the rooftops, get people to sign up, teach your class for 2 hours, and then you're back to the drawing board. Please don't not consider multi-week classes, because this time, coming up with classes that not only meet one time, start adding classes that are kind of multi-week and that kind of are meeting for maybe 3 or 4 or maybe even 6 weeks in a row. And I think we're good about doing this for kids classes. Everyone's got their 10, 11 week trimester, whatever it is. And parents are really used to that. So that's great. But even for your adult classes, like I definitely have, my share of 2-hour classes, but I've found that my business has been become more profitable when I can have a 3-week hemming and altering class, or a 4-week how to make a pair of trousers. It's actually in reverse. My hemming and altering is 4 weeks and my trouser lab is only 3 weeks. But by having these classes, you give yourself a little bit more time to market them. They're at a higher price point. People like them because it feels like you're sort of giving it your all. Like my students will be like, yeah, I'm going to learn how to make a pair of pants and I'm going to invest in that. I'm going to pay $150 to come for 3 weeks in a row. And at the end, I'm going to have this cool pair of pants. And so they've paid a bit more. They've come to class every week, talked with the other students in the class, and they've formed relationships with them, and it makes more of a community within your studio as well, right? Because if you do just a one-off class, everyone's there, everyone has a great time, but they're not necessarily coming back, and they've probably only paid like 40 or 50 bucks to come for, and I'm not saying that that's not a lot of money, I'm just saying it's at a lower price point. You've worked just as hard to fill that 1-2 hour class and you would to market a 3-week or 6-week class. People love our 6-week boot camp because it is, again, a commitment. And yes, it's a higher price point, but people want, that are like deciding, I want to do it. It's not everybody, people, for a while, we only had 6-week classes and people were like, hey, could you do 3-week classes? And so we added that to our repertoire of classes. And then we still have the 2-hour hem and button. We have the 2-hour sewing machine basics class, which is literally the most popular class. Anyway, I just want you to keep your mind open to creating things that are going for more than 1 week, because it's a lot of work to market a class. If there's one thing that people ask me in doing this, it's how, what marketing tips do you have to get bodies, in my studio and people signed up. And that's, it's an ongoing thing. And I cancel classes. I still, to this day, cancel classes sometimes that don't have enough people in order to run them. So, there's no shame in that, but try to make it a little bit easier for yourself and offer these kind of classes that are ongoing. Okay. And then the other thing, that I wanted to talk about is in terms of making your class profitable. Is the way you schedule your classes, right? So making sure that you have a steady stream of income coming in every month, right? Because your expenses are probably coming in 1-month increments or coming, once a month. And if you are sort of like scheduling your classes where they all start like September 15th and, you have 6 weeks of a kid's class or whatever, however you're doing it, and you're not going to have another chunk of classes for people to sign up for that next month, you're really going to have a hard time paying your bills. So to kind of look at your schedule is, how can I have the same number of spots in my class every single month for someone to sign up for? So the same potential for the amount of money coming in comes in, if that makes sense. I hope I'm getting that across. And I only know this because I've made this mistake. I'll have a bunch of things that are starting and then I don't have anything starting again for like 6 or 8 weeks. And then I find myself a month later, like, wait a second, why is there no money coming in? I have plenty of people in classes, but I haven't sort of scheduled it out in a way that is kind of steady. And then, in 2 weeks from then, I'll have all this money coming in. So anyway, it's kind of I hope I've explained that in a way that is helpful. If anybody has any questions about that, let me know. Okay. Moving on, the last part of this, that I want you to think about when you're creating your 2020 class schedule is making sure that your planning process is efficient. And I wrote a little blog post about this on the Sewing Teacher blog probably a couple months ago, when I was sitting down to do my school year planning for my kids' kids classes. Anyway, so if you've read that, this is part of this is coming from that. But I definitely have gotten more experience with this because I used to kind of have it be like an ongoing basis, like just, oh, I'm going to add this and I'm going to add that and oh, maybe I'll throw this in there. But as I've gotten more experienced with it, I need to narrow down the time that I'm actually sitting down and doing my class planning schedule. I print out 12 months of a calendar, a blank calendar like the one you all have. And, you know, I keep room for adjustments as I go, but I keep the actual time down to a minimum. And this allows me to, you know, get future classes on the schedule and get a better sign up rate. So I'll sit down and go, okay, I need to schedule January, February, March, April of 2020, have everything. And I would have done this like at least a month ago. I don't think I have April, but I have until the end of March. So that there's enough time ahead. But then it's like, it's done. You know, you sit down, you decide for that chunk of time what it is. All the stuff's on there. I let all my teachers know, you know, they have different times that they can work. I kind of figure that all out, let them know that the stuff's going up on the website, and then I'm good for a little while. So yeah, let me see what else I said about this. Oh, I kind of broke it out by how I do it. So I kind of look at it quarterly. And my first big scheduling is when I wrote this blog post is about mid-July. So actually that's kind of a long time ago. I feel like the months just fly by. Anyway, this tends to be a good time for me to start thinking about the new school year because my summer camp classes are underway. I have a little bit of free time to really just start concentrating on September through June as far as kids stuff, especially when the kids camps are full, because then you can start promoting to the kids in camp like, hey, yes, we have after school programs, here they are. And then I print out these blank calendar pages and I'll first determine in my area what the school, so this is for kids stuff, what my school calendar looks like for the following year. So you're in July of 2019, you're looking at the September through June class calendar for the schools in your area, right? Figuring out when is their spring break, when is their holiday break, when is summer, you know, starting. So you kind of want to look at that to see when the kids are out from school and how to kind of break up 3 segments. I do it into 3 segments. I do a fall, winter, and spring kids after school sort of trimester system because a lot of the schools do it that way. So I figure out that I mark all the I mark all of the holidays onto the calendar, and I start with that stuff, right? So then I will just put that on my website, literally in July. Now I've got my fall, I've got my winter, and I've got my spring. So somebody can sign up for all 3, you know, in September if they want to. And quick tip, make that an option. Give people a discount. I just discovered this. If somebody's signing up for the fall session of 10 or 11 weeks, give them a little discount to commit to winter and or spring. I did that this year for the first time. I don't know what I was thinking and why I didn't do this like 100 years ago, but I did it this year. And like, I'm going to say 75% of people committed to the next without even starting the fall. They committed to winter. And it's working now. The ones that are new, they're signing up winter. And then there's a little thing, hey, do you want to add spring semester as well? Save whatever it is. And people are doing it. So make sure you do that with your kids' classes, okay? And then as far as my quarterly planning goes, I usually sit down in the beginning of November, like I said, and I start looking at January, February, and March. That's kind of the adult stuff. And January, February, March. And then at that time too, I will put the dates of the summer camp. I don't necessarily make you able to sign up because I just don't have the bandwidth to do that yet, but I do make the dates available so people can start thinking about the dates. And then around mid-December is when I'll actually put all the stuff on the website for the summer camp and give people the ability to sign up on January 1st. And, you know, some people would probably argue that that's late. And I actually got some emails from businesses in my area doing a Black Friday special for summer camp. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy, but also smart. And I was like, okay, great. So now all those kids that are going to sign up for my camp have already committed because they got some crazy Black Friday sale. Anyway, it's past now, but it was just something that like got my wheels turning. It was like, wow, that's even further ahead than I've normally done it. I'm not going to stress about it, but just giving you all that info. So yeah, that's when I do the kids stuff. And then at that time, I'm going to probably start looking at April, May, June, believe it or not, adult stuff. You know, I just want to make it far enough ahead that it's up there for people. And then usually around mid-February, I make sure all the adult stuff is scheduled at least till like June, July. We do some funny things with our adult classes in July and August. So sometimes I leave that open probably until a little bit later until I figure out what we're going to do, because we usually end up, all my teachers are working summer camps and no one has the energy to teach at night. I shouldn't say that, not no one, because not everybody does camp, but we do some different things in the summer. I'd be curious to hear what people do that do adult classes and kids classes and that have a strong summer camp program, what your evening classes are like in the summer. Let me know. Okay. I just want to stress again, don't make it an ongoing thing. When you are scheduling your classes, just try to like keep your time management hat on. You know, the whole thing where people say don't look at your email all day long, just look at it maybe once in the morning and once in the afternoon, do what you have to do, and then don't look at it again. Just kind of same time management's the same idea. Like, don't just keep going with it. Just get it done, get it up there. And if you have to make tweaks, you have to make tweaks, but just keep it contained. Can you all see that? Contained. Okay. So hopefully those three things are keeping it, you know, this is all helpful for you all. Keep it inspiring, keep it efficient, and keep it profitable. Okay, so hopefully you all got your 12-page PDF calendar. I'm going to have that in the notes of this when I post it onto YouTube, so you can all download that. And I would love to hear what your ideas are and what your inspirations are for your planning for 2020. I'm really kind of pumped for it. I don't know if it's because it's called 2020, but I feel pretty excited about it here on December 4th. So hopefully the momentum kind of keeps up and we all have a great year. And anyway, if you like this, please spread the word. Talk about it on social media. Let me know. Or if you hated it, let me know too. I have a thick skin. I can take it. If you have ways that you think that you might like to improve these live classes, I'm committed to doing them. So I will be checking in here once a week for 52 weeks in I just got another question. Hold on. I'm going to look at that in 1 second. Anyway, I'm going to be here. If you're liking this, please, tell other people or spread the word, so we can help more people, right? Okay. Oh, and if you want to use a hashtag, use the hashtag sewing boss when you do this, okay? When you're talking about these classes, for Hipstitch Academy or anything that you find, just label it with the hashtag sewing boss. And hopefully you can join us next week. I should know when that is, actually, and I don't think I do. So you know what? I'm going to navigate over. Oh, I hope I didn't just... Oh, you're still there. Okay. I'm going to navigate over to Hipstitch and see what the date and time is for next week. So if you're on the Hipstitch Academy website, it's under the training and coaching tab, and then it's video classes. Next week's, look in the video class schedule tab. Next week is Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we're going to be talking about email lists and why you need one. It's my definitely the most effective form of marketing for my sewing studio. So if you don't have a list, you're going to learn how to make one. It's free. MailChimp is free. So we're going to talk about that because it can be confusing if you're just starting out. So don't miss it. Okay. Ooh, I have a question here, and it says, if you are still working full-time, how do you schedule it? Yes. And I've been there, and I have instructors who work a full-time job during the day, and they love sewing and teaching sewing so much that they're doing it at night. I would suggest don't do it all yourself. You're going to burn yourself out. So I would say, anyway, okay, start with this. If it is only you, you're going to do it at night probably, right? Or you're going to do it on the weekends. There's plenty. I mean, those are the times that people want to take classes anyway. You're going to have to hustle. It's going to be tiring because you're doing a full-time job during the day, and then you're going to go and have to teach. But look at it as labor of love, right? Like, you're doing this because you eventually want to do this for a job. Look forward to it. Do your job, and then know that you've got a skirt making workshop that night, or Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, or Sunday morning, whatever, whatever you can do. Don't make the schedule crazy, but make it consistent, like start doing, like offering on a weekly basis, 1 night a week or 2 nights a week, whatever you can handle. Do that. And maybe you can, find someone else that also wants to teach, and you take the risk of paying them to teach, right? But you are the one, I'm reading over here again, sorry. Anyway, yeah, if it's only you, then do what you can to do it at night and in the mornings. And then eventually start thinking about paying somebody else. So hope that answered your question. I think I am gonna sign off, but I hope y'all enjoyed this. And if you think of questions afterwards, again, don't hesitate to go ahead and email me, or just put it in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. All righty, take care until next week, Thursday, 1 o'clock. I'll see you then. Bye.